take these shackles off these lily white hands for the world to see.
What's your name?
It doesn't matter, my friend. Trust me, I'm one of the most just humans to ever walk.
Okay, just
this
human.
soil.
Tell me your name.
I tell you what, you got to give me a name. Give me Superman sounds good. I'm Superman.
Just give me John Doe.
No, you know what, John Doe's fine.
Okay.
John Doe's fine. I don't.
All right.
Just get these shackles off of me.
So
you call me whatever you want to. I don't care.
Okay.
Just get off me and get me out of this car. My name doesn't matter.
How's that to start things on a Sunday morning? That's Mullins McLeod, just declared for the governor's race on Monday as a Democrat, and then that video of a May arrest that people were already aware of went public just a day later. He was arrested on a disorderly conduct charge. About 30 minutes of I guess what can be best described as rambling, threats made against political opponents, threats made against various political figures, both national and state level. Dave Wilson, Katherine Glenn Foster, it seems that this was the week that would not stop giving. Mullins McLeod has been all over our headlines this week and still in this race, despite calls for him to drop out from state Democrats. So where do we even start with this?
What a change a week makes.
I know.
I mean, within 1 week to go from the Democrats' first declared candidate for governor to have this absolute outrage exposed to the public. One of my real questions here is not only why is he still in the race, but why did he enter to begin with? Where was that vetting process on the part of the Democrats to make sure that this candidate would be a legitimate candidate who would be able to stand up to more than a week of scrutiny?
But I think this is the place, too, where it is not the political party's decision as to whether or not a person is going to run for governor or not. It is not up to the parties to decide that. The party voters will be voting for that in June. But good grief, we have to remember, we had Alvin Green, who was the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate running against Jim DeMint. Nobody forced Alvin Green out. So why in the world will the Democrats right now want to force out Mullins McLeod on this?
Well, I would force him out personally because there are other Democrats in the state.
Right.
And pretty much any one of them would be at this point a better candidate for governor. In fact, we have a couple who we've even discussed on here. The good news is that all of them will be looking like the golden child in comparison. Any of you, please declare. But in the meantime, I think it's clear. You cannot lead the state. You cannot serve as governor if you can't even keep your pants on in public.
Well, yes. I don't know. This is a place that I think it's going to end up being I think the voters of South Carolina are wise enough to look at this and go, yeah, this is probably not the person that I want to have representing me, unless for some reason he has some sort of mea culpa, comes out and says, this is the reason that I did all of this, and here's what I really want to do.
I would love to hear what might be adequate there.
But he has to sell that to the voting public, which is, I think, the whole part of the process that we talk about every single week is voter involvement. So the fact that we're actually having this discussion and this is what we're talking about on a Sunday morning, this is...
Yes, a candidate with no pants, just underpants, no shirt, just shoes, had to have good foot support. Seen in the streets of the Battery in Charleston, they found him screaming. Now, you mentioned a mea culpa. We didn't get one, but we did get about a 90-second statement from Mr. McLeod. I believe it was on Thursday that was posted to his official social media accounts, where it would seem he's at least addressing this video, but doesn't really discuss the details of it. Marcus, let's play just a quick portion of that real quick.
But I share with the voters that no matter how much they try to silence me, no matter how much they tried to get me out of this race, that I would not stand down. I made that commitment to you. And I told you in that letter that I have prepared my entire adult life for what lies ahead. Well, this is the precise moment that I was talking about in that letter. This is the precise moment I have prepared my entire adult life to handle.
So what I hear there is this is about a commitment to the voters, Dave and Katherine. I don't know if I agree.
Okay, let's take a step back. When you get caught doing something that's, I think, universally recognized as reprehensible, typically you want to admit fault, apologize,
That
have
didn't
some
happen.
kind of recognition instead of doubling down and claiming to stick it to the establishment. That's running for governor is about proving that you are fit to serve. And right now, this is a very, very hard case to make.
This is a place where, as you as a voter, you fully understand this. This is a place where you have to be wise enough to be able to speak into this yourself. Mullins McLeod is going to be going around the state of South Carolina trying to sell this idea. And I think when you take a look at the Democratic Party has basically told him, you need to stop. I think that honestly makes somebody like him double down and go, you're not going to stop my voice no matter what that is. And tell me how that's really any different than Nancy Mace on the other side.
That's hard to argue. Right now, he's reminding me of that preteen boy who, as soon as you lay down some kind of rule, he's like looking at that fence and figuring out how to hop over it. That's really what he reminds me of. And while we can talk about, I guess, politicians and leadership and who should be leading our country, should they be role models for us all? I guess you could make the argument that this is a hearkening back to the early days of our nation, back when our lawmakers would go out behind the building and have a duel.
That didn't end well for some of them.
No, it did not. It always ended poorly for at least one.
But I don't think we're going to see McLeod, the musical, coming up anytime in the near future.
Oh, you may have just put something in someone's head, and we may see that now for the creatives that are watching.
Broadway.
There you go.
You mentioned the other
Absolutely.
potential candidates as Democrats. A man that we've had on our show, Germaine Johnson. It seems like an announcement is likely imminent. He did have a fundraising event just a few days ago this week that was put together by a number of state lawmakers. That was to fund his exploratory committee on running for governor. So I have to think sometime soon Germaine jumps in as a Democrat, and I would say no time like the present when the other declared candidate is squarely in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons right now.
Well, I honestly, we'll just cut through the chase. Mm-hmm. There's about 3 different kinds of Democrats in South Carolina. There's African-American Democrat. There's a second faction of African-American Democrats, and you saw that between the Clinton House and the Obama House. Mm-hmm. And then you have old white Democrats. And they're a very different oil and water mixture. Mm-hmm. It's like oil and water, and they don't go together. But they're trying to find a way to coalesce. And I think you've got somebody like Mullins McLeod who is turning around and saying, I'm a voice for you guys who are part of the Old South Democratic Party. And that's where a Germaine Johnson is saying, yes, but I'm a voice for a different kind of Democratic Party in South Carolina.
And I would point out the Democratic Party is the party of the big tent. It's the party that's supposed to be welcoming to all, not name-calling with racist slurs. So for me, this could not be a better tee-up, a better set, if you follow volleyball, for another announcement in the coming days.
Some other special announcement? Haven't we had a lot of special
We have one. We're going to talk about that in the next segment, actually, about a special announcement. However,
and tease the B block, here we go.
This one campaign is saying
it's coming this week.
They're not going to have any mystery. It is time to just get after it. So when we come back on Connect to the Capitol, we're going to tell you who it is that's going to jump into a different statewide race and why they're not trying to hide behind some type of veil with a special announcement. They're saying what they're doing, and they're going to be doing that tomorrow. We're going to talk about it when we come back.
Love it.
All right, next up on Connect to the Capitol, a special announcement that isn't so special. David Pasco, the solicitor who rose to fame as the man who looked into State House corruption in the last decade, is going to enter the race for Attorney General as a Republican. He called it a special announcement, at least his press staff did, but they're also saying we're not pulling any punches. We are entering the race, so let's get after it. Monday is the first of a series of events where he will start campaigning around this state with the intended purpose of saying, I'm going to be AG. I like this announcement because everybody else, we could have, we joked they were going to enter the NFL draft or the NBA draft. David Pasco says, nope, I'm entering the race. No mystery allowed.
Yeah, there's no pulling punches on this one. He just basically said, listen, I'm going to be having an announcement telling you that I'm going to be running for Attorney General. We knew it was coming.
Yes.
We knew the precursors to that happened a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. I love that he didn't beat around the bush here. He just came right out and said, I'm making an announcement. You can guess what it is. Here's the announcement. Here's where it is. Come on out. Let's kick this off right. Instead of this kind of squirrely, coy, I'm making an announcement, you'll never guess what, and then please come out and trying to soft launch essentially the campaign. He's out there.
And he gave a precursor to that a few weeks ago when he actually switched political parties from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. And so that has at least opened up that opportunity for him to lay the groundwork of the campaign. And now we've got tomorrow a big launch for David Pasco running for Attorney General.
That's right. And for him, it really was a declaration that he is here to win. This is someone who has a track record of taking on corruption, of taking on the political machine, of doing whatever it takes. And he comes out strong.
And this isn't the first time we've had major political party shifts. When you start thinking about the balance of power, we had a huge one back in the early 90s when the House had taken over the Republicans. The Republicans had taken over the House, but it was a 50-50 split in the Senate. And it was Senator Vern Smith who flipped his party right there at the moment in 1991. And that changed the trajectory of Republicans in power in the South Carolina Senate. So this is not a surprise. He's not going to win as a Democrat in South Carolina, not with the way it's stacked right now. So it's a natural move for Pasco to go to the Republican Party and push for that nomination.
I agree.
Right, and honestly, switching parties at this time in this state, it really does tell you exactly where the power lines are and power lanes are right now in South Carolina politics and how serious he is about actually winning statewide.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at all the candidates, at least Republican candidates for AG. On the left of your screen there is Stephen Goldfinch, the state senator. He's already declared. So we have two declared candidates in Pasco and Stephen Goldfinch. Also, we have David Stumbo of the Greenwood area, not officially declared yet, but assume that's coming as well. And the governor's son, McMaster Jr., also considered to be a potential candidate for the office that his father once held before he rose to lieutenant governor and the governor's office. So expect more to come, I'd say, in announcements in that field in the weeks to come. But two off the list that we knew were coming. I'm waiting, though, for that special announcement where someone throws us a curveball. I'm still waiting. I don't know when it's coming, but I want it.
Get your bat warmed up.
Get your bat warmed up. That's right.
Wait, and then we're not even to September yet, folks.
I know.
That's the part you have to keep in mind. The whole political season, just so you know, political season really kind of kicks off in September. Mm-hmm. And so we're kind of waiting to see the rest of the field, how it plays itself out by the end of Labor Day weekend, because that's going to be when we know there's going to be another Republican in for the governor's race, which Democrat's going to turn around and be a part of that. But also keep in mind, not only do we have the governor and the attorney general, the governor will have a running mate that will run on that same ticket. But we also are going to have the election of the treasurer. Curtis Loftus has basically said, come on, take me on with that one.
Yes.
And the comptroller general, keep in mind, that was the part with the who's responsible for the $8 billion, $1.8 billion.
There's no such money.
Pasco that we've talked about plenty of times on the air. So there's a lot of finger pointing, but a lot of people who are going to be in the races that are going to be coming up, because you've got Nancy Mace, who's now moved out, moving her run for governor. Ralph Norman, the same thing. So there's two congressional seats open right there.
And that's what makes this South Carolina politics.
Exactly.
Let the games begin, and we're 3 weeks away from the season opening, as you said, the real opener. When we come back, the controversy at the State House, the arrest of R.J. May. He's resigned from his seat now in the State House, but that doesn't mean that story ends anytime soon. There's a little bit going on there with other members there in the House. That's when we come back on Connect to the Capitol. Welcome back to Connect to the Capitol. The saga of R.J. May, the disgraced, now former state lawmaker out of Lexington County, the Republican, submitting his resignation letter from behind jail walls this past week. letting House leadership know that he is giving up his seat at the State House as he awaits trial on 10 federal child porn charges. We expected some type of action with him being removed from his seat. Maybe didn't expect him to resign. Maybe we expected him to be expelled, but here we are now. And his former colleagues in the Freedom Caucus that he helped co-found, condemning him in a statement as well, which we have just a portion of that I want to read to you, Dave and Katherine, real quick. If it just says, "Our hearts are with his victims and his innocent family, and we pray for swift justice as this ugly chapter in the South Carolina House of Representatives comes to a close." However, they didn't stop there. They took a swing at House leadership, saying they should have taken action to get May out of the House, and said that this resignation should have come a lot sooner anyway. But they kind of skirted this issue to begin with. We know how this all played out.
We absolutely do. When your resume reads Freedom Caucus firebrand and co-founder one week and then indicted for child pornography the next, you don't just resign. That's not strong. That's not noble. It's the bare minimum. And no matter what you do at that point, you've torched your political movement. For me, one of the real questions here, we have this appalling story, this reprehensible, this horrifying story that just breaks all of our heart going on. But then we also have this political aspect to it. Why wasn't something done sooner? Why did leadership hesitate to expel R.J. May? For me, that sounds like caution, but it also has a little tinge of being afraid to move forward.
I actually disagree on that point, because I think what I see is they moved forward with a process. Now, the process is not moving as fast as maybe we all would like to see it happen. And at the same time, there are investigations that are going on. There are other things that are happening that are going on simultaneously with all of this. Now, the wheels of justice don't move all that swiftly, and the wheels of justice inside this House of Representatives probably move a little bit slower than the wheels of justice elsewhere, because it is politics and it is playing itself out with that. I think the thing that is most important is the fact that R.J. May should have resigned sooner.
And I can absolutely agree with that. But innocent until proven guilty, that applies to our criminal justice system. It doesn't apply to political leadership.
No.
You don't have an automatic right to continue to lead while you wait to find out if, in fact, the substantiated allegations of dispensing and distributing child pornography are in fact true.
Right.
And so he shouldn't have been in office.
And that was a choice that he needed to make as well.
Agreed.
To have removed himself from that. Mm-hmm. And yet at the same time, I think the investigation that has to go on, you have to keep in mind, these indictments came down because of a SLED investigation taken before a grand jury, and the grand jury has indicted him on 10 counts. Guess who's not seen any of that stuff as of yet? The House of Representative Ethics Committee.
And they will.
They're part of the review for the political side of this.
Yeah, and we did have, speaking of that, House Majority Leader Davey Hyatt did respond to the criticism lobbed at him, and again made reference to that House Ethics Committee investigation that is still ongoing. This resignation does not stop it, and he made sure the Freedom Caucus knows that whatever they find, if they're somehow intertwined in something that no one wants to find out about, it seems that Mr. Hyatt wants to remind everyone about that political element of this as well, because he took issue with them at one point referring to Mr. May as an upstanding member of the Freedom Caucus, because we know this all started a year ago. So this is unraveling now, and I would expect maybe some more high drama to play out at the State House before we even get back to session, possibly.
What we need here is just a return to transparency, a return to integrity, and just walking away from any idea of just being in it to protect image.
Right. And this is a place where, when all is said and done in this, R.J. May is no longer in there. The Freedom Caucus should have said some stuff a whole lot sooner than they did.
Point.
Right. And House leadership, it would be great for them to expedite this process but we don't know what's been going on behind closed doors. But what we do know is the people in that district are going to be electing a new member to the South Carolina House of Representatives. And we hope that that's going to be an election where you're drawing the right type of people into that position.
Yeah, and we'll be covering that as soon as we know who all those people are going to be, because they can't go into a new session without someone representing that district. So again, that's a story that
Brian, they have actually, his resignation now times it out for this person to be seated prior to the second half of legislative session beginning in January.
Yep. So it'll be coming soon. Like we said 2 months ago, we were going to be talking about this one for a long time, and away we go with the latest chapter in that. When we come back, we're going to quickly talk about possible change to how you vote, who you vote for, but a big emphasis on the possible. We're talking about redistricting. That's when we come back.
For my money, I don't know what others say, but for my money, I think that we've drawn some very good lines. They've withstood court challenge, and I see no reason for us to go back through that now. Maybe some others disagree.
Henry McMaster on the prospect of redistricting, something that was pushed for by gubernatorial candidate Ralph Norman a week ago, saying we need to redraw these 7 congressional districts. Of course, the senior congressman from South Carolina, Jim Clyburn, says we don't need to do that. And guess what? The McMaster camp on board with Democrat Jim Clyburn. They've worked together for years. Both men have an immense amount of respect for each other. So the only way you can change those district lines is for lawmakers at the State House to do that. But Dave, Katherine, this isn't going to happen. I know there's some pushes in some other states for this. I think Norman's plea falls on deaf ears now that the governor says, nope, don't do it, ladies and gentlemen in the State House.
That's right. And voters should be picking politicians, not the other way around. We have perfectly fine voting maps. We could continue to improve upon them, but we certainly don't need to redraw them to make them even more party friendly, even more extreme.
This is a place where we have seen districts switch parties because the makeup of the district has been more in one party's favor than the other. So we call this gerrymandering. It is a redrawing of the lines to include certain groups of populations more than other groups of populations. And we'll have a whole Connect to the Capitol Extra on that in the coming weeks, because we want you to understand the hows and whys of that. But this has been a move that's been going on in the state of Texas. This is a move that's going on in the state of California. So these larger states are looking, how can we turn around and reposition our maps so that we can have more of our color, red or blue representation in Washington, D.C., because the balance of power is so tight right now in the House of Representatives that they're trying to do everything they can to sway that one way or the other.
Yep.
And it's especially interesting when we see 2 different segments, factions of the same party, where one segment is saying, let's go ahead and redraw, and the others say no, because that's where you see that some of those folks out there are saying the maps aren't good enough. We need even more of the voters to be able to win.
There's a lot of red on South Carolina's congressional districts. 6 red to 1 blue. The blue held down by, of course, Congressman Jim Clyburn, who has been doing great work for years now. Well, that's going to do it for Connect to the Capitol. We're looking forward to that extra on redistricting and gerrymandering, because that can be a complex issue. But Dave and Katherine, thank you again for coming with us on the road. And we will see you next week on Connect to the Capitol next Sunday. Everyone have a good week.
Have a good weekend.
Happy Sunday.